top 1% of entrepreneurial accountants are crushing it while everyone else is stuck grinding tax returns? Here's the thing. It's not about being the smartest. It's about mastering the right skills, the ones that actually generate revenue, build authority, and scale your firm fast. In this video, I'm breaking down the 7 high income skills the elite use to dominate their niche and build a 6 to 7 figure or more accounting business. So let's go ahead and get into it. Skill number 1 is high ticket sales. Most accountants are selling $500 tax returns or less. They are oftentimes underpriced TurboTax or any form of Intuit professional services, whereas the top 1%ers, they're closing engagements that are going to be worth 4 figures per month at a minimum. And to do that, you need to master high ticket sales. So that means asking the right questions. And there's a difference between just asking any questions, making a bunch of statements, or asking quality questions. If you're asking quality questions, you're ultimately going to be a higher quality entrepreneur. And most importantly, accountants need to be better at selling outcomes, not hours. So this one skill can 10x your revenue with the same number of clients. Crazy to think about, right? Skill number 2, authority-based personal branding. No one buys from the best kept secret. Okay? Top earners build authority-based brands. They're showing up on YouTube. They're showing up on podcasts, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. You basically can't escape them. Yes, they're not just accountants. They're category kings of accounting in their dedicated target market of their choice. Just like you are likely an accountant listening to this, because I work inside of a dedicated target market, which makes you more likely to listen to me. And I would like that effect or that consequence of that decision to work to your advantage as well. Skill number 3 is a consultative approach to communication. So accounting knowledge, unfortunately, won't help you if you can't communicate effectively. The 1% of people who are crushing it in accounting know how to take complex financial jargon and translate it into a clear business case. They position themselves as strategic advisors, not number crunchers. And this is the difference between being a vendor and becoming a trusted growth partner. You don't want to be thought about as just some contractor where your calls get ignored, your emails get ignored. You want to be the person that they're excited to talk to. And I'll give you a good comparison for this. If you've ever been around a bunch of people in the military, and if you have never been in the military, I've never been in the military, thank you to all those who serve. But if you've never been in the military and you're surrounded by those people, they literally sound like you're talking a different language. And I'm even kind of interested in what they're talking about. And I'm still like, what are you talking about? I don't even know. And then you get bored and then you kind of stop paying attention. This is also the problem with technical accounting terminology, is even if they want to know it, if you start to confuse them and you're not slowing down, breaking it down, making things simple, they're ultimately going to tune you out. And once they start tuning you out, it's really hard to get their attention back. Skill number 4, strategic niche targeting. So one of my favorite principles is if you're trying to talk to everyone, you're effectively selling to no one. So the best entrepreneurial accountants pick a niche, they own a niche, and they never think that they're making the pie smaller. They ultimately realize that they only need a tiny sliver of the pie to build a ridiculously successful accounting firm. And so if you want to make that easier, whether you're picking SaaS, e-com, real estate, doctors, it doesn't matter. You pick that and then you own that category as hard as you possibly can, because here's the deal. When you know your dream client in detail, you know what their pains are, you know what they care about, you know their language, you know where they want to go, you know why they don't like their current accounting system. Effectively, you are able to communicate more value with less time required, which is an amazing place to be. And again, this lets you charge a premium price with zero resistance. So that's kind of nice. Skill number 5, content that converts. So posting for the sake of posting, that's called amateur hour, right? A lot of people think you have to check the box of social media or that you can fully delegate all of your marketing and you can close your eyes and you can never pay attention. You can never talk to your actual prospective clients. You just, maybe AI will do it all. Maybe this random, really cheap service provider that copies and pastes the same exact content across all of the other accountants they work with. Yes, we know who you are. Yeah, that's not going to work. Never has worked, never will work. Complete waste of money. And it's a brand killer and not what the top 1% of entrepreneurial accountants who are crushing it are fundamentally doing. So how does this work for you? Well, top players create strategic content that builds trust and moves prospects down a pipeline. They got to get market awareness, right? You got to get more people to see you. They got to like what they see. They got to want to click. They got to like what they see when they click. This is all forms of content. And then when they click through, they got to see that scheduling page. They got to have content on that page that encourages them to move forward with giving you high value information to pre-qualify the prospect. Then they got to go through even more content, a pre-sales video to make sure that they know exactly how to show up prepared for the call. And then they come onto the call with you, which arguably is a form of live content. It's just in a one-on-one environment where you get to enter the sales dialogue. So every single aspect of that is architected by you to speak to your dream client. That's how you create content that converts. So again, content should educate, elevate, and ultimately enroll more clients in your services. Skill number 6, scalable systems and delegation. The top 1% know that they can't do it all themselves. They build systems and they are meticulous about who they select to be a part, not just of their dream client roster, but also on their dream team to support that dream roster of clients. So they delegate bookkeeping, they delegate reporting, they delegate the administrative work, they delegate aspects of their marketing, but they still are in control of it. They still ultimately participate in it. And what they're focused on is, instead of being the doers, they're the directors. They like strategy. They like guiding the sales process and participating in it, but they're really focused primarily on, how do I scale this to a business that runs without me? And the final, and arguably the most important skill that the top 1% of entrepreneurial accountants use to ultimately grow their income is mindset with an emphasis on risk tolerance. So this is the really the invisible force that guides all entrepreneurial endeavors, right? It's that mindset that we have, which is, if I were in full control of all the things related to my brand, my reputation, how we service clients, how we train our team, I could do it better than the things I've experienced in the past. If I had more control, then I would ultimately be able to create the things that I dream about, the things that I know I would be proud to be associated with. However, there's a lot of distractions out there. There's a lot of doubt, there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of risk associated with a lot of different decisions. And here's the thing. If you have too much emphasis on risk, in other words, if you are really too analytical and you are just trying to get perfect information all the time before you make any decisions, you never make any decisions, because perfect information doesn't exist. And by the time you have perfect information, the opportunity has completely passed you by, and now you're stuck fighting over scraps with the other 99% who are paralyzed by doing too much analysis, paralysis by analysis. However, those who have a continually growing entrepreneurial mindset, they live in a mindset of abundance instead of scarcity. They're not worried about fighting over these small problem clients. They're happy to let them go, and they know that there's a better client coming to them in the future because they've worked on their marketing systems, because they've worked on their sales skills. They know that they have better opportunities in the future. So these accountants, how do they foster this mindset that ultimately lets them, yes, still use that beautiful analytical brain, ultimately hedge risk, but not let fear of worst case scenarios or blowing things out of proportion, because there's any risk associated, there's always risk associated with every decision, but any risk, they're just like, no, impossible, can't do it. Well, what they're doing is they're investing in mentorship, right? They're making sure that they're getting trained by people who are ahead of them, who've already done things, who've already accepted the risk, have minimized the risk so that they have even less risk. They invest in their branding, and ultimately they're continuing to invest in their marketing when others are playing it safe and sitting, waiting around for referrals, because now they're in more control over the growth of and direction of their firm. So they take calculated risks. They bet on themselves and operate from abundance, not fear, because at the end of the day, skill without mindset is a sports car without an engine. So listen, if you are ready to level up and become part of this illustrious 1%, please keep in mind you must be unlike the other 99 accountants that you run into. Like literally, you must be unlike them in almost every way, shape, and form. And if this is something that speaks to you, then you're the type of dream client that we love to work with. We like to work with ambitious accountants that think of themselves as entrepreneurs first and ultimately as accountants second. And if you think that is an accurate description of who you are and you would like to get better at these 7 skills and some other ones that we haven't mentioned, well, we'd love the opportunity to have a chance to speak with you. So there will be links floating down and around this video for you to have an opportunity to apply to explore our Create Your Dream Firm program, where we do all sorts of wonderful things to ultimately make creating your dream firm significantly easier than it was before. So thank you so much for your most precious resource. My name is Tyler S. Clark, and remember that only you can create your dream firm, but we are here to help you every single step of the way. Have a fantastic rest of your workday, and I'll see you all inside of the Dream Firms Network.